Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the I Am David Barry 10 Faces of Dating podcast. I am Kevin Green as always. We are looking into now week number 5, podcast number 5, reaching unprecedented heights. And of course, on the other line we have...
David Barry.
And David, I understand that you've brought some estrogen with you. Is that correct?
Well, it's certainly in tow this morning. It is with great pleasure and distinction that I introduce the thinking man's pinup, better known by her government name, Julia Ford Carter. Right there on the line, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
How you doing, Julia?
Good.
Good to
How
see
are
you.
all of you?
There we go. Hit the applause button. Make this official. We got it. We got it. Yeah, it's coming. So, Julia, you're on the line here now. Did you spend the night with David or no?
Not yet.
Not yet. Uh-oh.
That's much more of like maybe the a 6th, 7th podcast kind of interaction.
Okay.
I believe.
I understand. You have to warm yourself up to it, so that's a good thing.
Sure. Taking baby steps here, one at a time.
So, Julia,
although I did just recently find out that back in his Florida International University days, he made the entire mass communication section swoon.
Did he?
Did he? That is word on the street.
Now, is this when he had hair, or is this when it was all gone?
What was that?
Did he have hair, or was it all gone by then?
Oh, this is just a friend of mine that I guess probably went to school with him.
Okay, so when you say the entire media section, you mean one person in particular who took a couple media classes hosted by Mr. Belding. Right? That's really what you mean.
I did have, Kevin, for the reference, I did have some hair. And I don't really know that that's relevant to what we're discussing anyway.
Well, we're talking about dating. I mean, you have to overcompensate when you have no hair, don't you, in some ways?
Yeah, you start lifting weights.
Exactly, and Dave's in incredible shape.
I don't want you to look at my hair. I want you to look at my abs.
Absolutely,
that's what we're going for.
All right, so Julia, you're a blogger, yes?
Yes,
so
I'm a blogger.
What does your site revolve around? What kind of material do we cover?
It's really a no BS kind of smart, savvy take on dating for women. After watching movies like He's Just Not That Into You and seeing all these women kind of like pathetically waiting by the phone, I was like, that's not me. That's not any of my friends. And I don't really get why we're getting portrayed that way.
Sure.
So kind of took it into my own hands. But I try to make it entertaining. I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so let me just kind of launch off here, then let me ask you a question. Why do you, Julia Ford Cather, why do you think dating is such a mess in 2013?
Oh, man. That's a
pretty loaded
answer. It is loaded. Well, I think there are a lot of social factors, economic factors that are happening right now.
Gun to your head right now, the number one, you have to answer this or else it's all over, the number one problem with dating in 2013. If you had to pick one, your life depended on it.
People don't have to grow up like they used to.
Okay.
And so now everybody's older and still kind of trying to figure stuff out and not really getting serious about relationships until much later in life.
Is that a career concession?
Probably has something to do with it. A lot of people are still living at home with their parents, which, it's not the worst thing, but I think you have to feel secure and stable in where you are in life before you can really take on another person.
I think that's true. I think that's fair. David, what do you think? What number one reason on your take?
I know you're going to kick me off the podcast if I don't get it right either.
Yes, absolutely. I have Tom Ricky waiting in the wings, so get it right or pay the price.
And he's got a much more robust voice.
Yeah, well, very, very robust.
If I had to say, it would be that we are jaded. For whatever reason, I think that our generation, and I'm referring to the mid-20s to early 30s age group, if you will, really seems to want to use their past experiences as a crutch. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily generational, but that seems to be the most of what I'm seeing as a excuse for people holding back, saying, oh, I'm not looking for a relationship right now, or, well, I don't trust guys because, or I think girls are crazy because. It's all based and predicated on singular experiences with a gender that has about 3.5 billion other members in it who do not necessarily all follow, the same, the same predetermined notions that they have about them. Everybody is
Sure.
different. There are great guys and girls out there, but there are a lot of people with their guard up because they're just assuming everyone's out there is the same, and that's obviously not the case.
Right. All right, let me ask you this then. How much of an impact, how much of a factor is maybe you're paralyzed by choice? It's hard to pick one person because you go on Facebook, you go on these dating sites, and all of a sudden you have every single thing and every single option out there. So, if one person has a little bit that might not be ideal for a match, ideal for your match, that you're not going to look somewhere else.
I personally think that's a really big issue because the perception is like, oh, if I don't like it here, I can always go somewhere else. Well, in the good old days, in our parents' generation, I mean, the options were literally in the same neighborhood, probably on the same street block.
Right.
And people didn't, really have those wandering eyes. And I think that's a part of the reason that serious relationships started in their early 20s for our parents' generation. A lot of them were married by, before they were 25. Even though, with Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff, people think that they have all these options because they're witnessing, pictures and they think that they're experiencing people's lives, but those aren't necessarily real options.
Sure.
They're just observing them and perceiving them as, the fact that there's a wider world out there. So they wonder, well, what I have, is that really the best thing that's out there? Especially when, girl number 2 posts up a hot picture, a nice little selfie, if you will.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, maybe it's better over there. And
sure, the grass is always greener syndrome.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Julia, what do you think about that?
Definitely. I think we're inundated with images from whether it be from our friends or the media, movies, what have you, of this elusive ideal. I think we've romanticized relationships and partnerships and even just like physicality of the opposite sex. And
what do you mean by the physicality?
Women are hypersexualized, men are getting hypersexualized more and more.
Sure.
And it's just, Instagram alone, I think, has really just skyrocketed that with all their filters, making everybody look like supermodels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even Kevin.
Even me. Even me. Yeah.
So, but it's not real. It's just absolutely not real. And so I think when people get into a relationship, they're disappointed and they keep going back to that virtual ideal.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I know I've experienced that in my own life. No, I have to ask you guys about this question because I was looking on the New York Times website the other day, and I found this story that talks about people asking each other for their credit scores on dates. Now, is this a real thing? Do you have any experience of this? Is there any truth to this?
I've actually...
Oh, wow.
So I took you both by surprise on that one.
Yeah, the laugh implies that there's a real story here, Julia, by all means.
Me personally, no, but I do have friends that there's a guy that I know that he grew up in Spain, but he's a restaurateur in Miami, and that was like his number one complaint, that women literally like ask for, to make sure it's like run his social security number, whatever, to run a credit check on him to make sure that he has sufficient funds before they start dating him.
So wait, this is a female inducement?
No, it's a guy. This is like I'd say he's probably in his late 30s, successful restaurateur,
right.
And women ask him this question.
Women ask him, but does the guy ask if they're end up getting married, the woman's credit score is going to be just as big of a factor as the man's credit score.
Right, but this is just to even date him. Like they want to make sure that he's got the funds first before even giving him the time of day.
It's like a brand new eHarmony filter. Put in your credit score. We'll find the right match for you.
FreeCreditScore.com.
Unbelievable. Okay, so to me, go ahead, Dave.
I would say I don't even get my credit score checked that often because it costs me money.
Right.
So these girls are spending money on someone else's credit score.
Sure. Well, maybe that's something you can do with the restaurateur thing. You get your check, and with the check, when you swipe your credit card, it also prints out a copy of the credit score. So that way it's all there instantaneously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's really what modern daters need.
Yeah. You go to McDonald's, you swipe it, give me a Big Mac, give me a large Coke, and then also we just ran your credit score for you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, To me, the credit score, that would be a red flag if I'm on a date. The girl's like, hey, Kevin, can I let me check out your credit score? So what are some other red flags that you would consider, Julia and Dave, on a date? If you're talking with someone, what would be a ding, 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 this girl might be, or guy might be a little nutty?
Julia, I'll give this one to you. Go ahead.
Definitely anytime anybody starts talking about their ex or a past relationship that they are just a little bit too emotional about still.
Who does that?
Nobody.
No, I don't know who does that. That's...
In the history of dating.
Dave, you want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, well, I think you start bringing those to the dinner table, you're sitting at the wrong table. There's really not a time and place for that on a first date. Really, I mean, that's your interview. Let's literally keep it as simple as possible, and let's not talk about religion, sex, or politics or past relationships.
Sex is negotiable after the fourth martini.
Actually, let's talk a lot about sex. No, but everything else, let's save that, because if there's, I don't know what type of insight you're expecting to glean, because especially if someone's willfully giving over that information, that's just terrifying.
No, I get you.
I think women do it as like they try to be like charming or cute or funny or crack jokes about it, but it's just like, no, you're really like something's going on. There's like maybe a little too much pain still or whatever. It's a little fresh. Is
there any level of trying to subconsciously show the other person that, no, I've been in something stable before. It ended, but look, I can do this again. Do you think there's any of that, or is it just completely, is that just not it?
I think women are born with the propensity to be in something stable. So that I think maybe if a guy was saying that maybe he would be using an example for that. But women, I don't think women have to prove that. I think it's almost an assumption, whether it's a good one or a bad one. I think it's almost, what everybody expects.
Sure.
I've also got a thought on that too, that men and women rarely bring up their past relationships in a neutral context. It's almost always either positive or negative, and neither is something that you want to hear, because if it's positive, you're like, well, this is weird. And if it's negative, you're thinking, okay, this person's, got a lot of bad things to say about their ex. I wonder how much she's responsible and what he's probably saying about her, at the same time. Because I just don't think it's a good look for anybody to be holding a grudge, at least publicly on a first date, over, experience they had in a past relationship. That to me is, a red flag that I haven't dealt with this, but I have another red flag. This one has been happening to me way too often lately, which is girls who have rules for how they're going to date you and treat the experience when they just met you.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the girls who really go out of their way to say, well, look, before ever really saying that we're trying to date, they will tell you that they're not looking for a relationship right now, or I don't really date this way. The girl who will preemptively tell you that she won't have sex with you on the first date kind of puts you like in a defensive mode, because they're like, well, I don't recall asking, and I didn't know that this was a transaction at the same time. And it's just kind of like, who do you think you are that you're somehow, elevating whatever it is that you have to offer over me? I mean, the guy is supposed to chase it regardless. Let us fulfill our gender stereotypes without you having to force it. But the second time a girl, starts to put up those rules, I just immediately want to leave her wherever she sits.
See, what's really interesting and ironic about this conversation? We started off talking about dating in 2013 and how things are different. And now we've gotten into all of these red flags and these nuances and these little things that'll make you actually want to get up out of the table and leave. And how, it's very interesting how, it's kind of come full circle.
It seems.
Say that again, Dave?
Here comes the...
I hate your phone, by the way, David. All right, Julia, how you doing? You doing good? We're gonna skip ahead now until David can get his act together over there. We actually, it's been quite unexpected, the popularity of how this podcast has grown relatively quickly, and nothing is more telling than the fact that we're getting. Well, I don't know the numbers now, David. I'd have to log on and take a look, but I know that we went from our first podcast making